Complete Rec. It is Wednesday, March 9th, and this is episode 3 of our podcast. Last week, we touched on a bit of healthcare, and this week, we're going to be touching on something else that is also causing a bit of trouble in both our regions, and that would be increased costs of living, I guess. And there's a couple of factors that factor into why things are going up in price so much. That would be, well, we've been going through the pandemic, as we all know, and we are currently dealing with, well, not really dealing with, but I guess we're hearing about the war over in the Ukraine.
Yeah, it's been kind of nuts. We had to put up the price of our Rec House Weekly newspaper to $2.15 just to offset some of the costs, and we'll be making further changes too, but it won't be another price increase for our subscribers who we dearly love. But yeah, everything's going up. I saw the price of wheat climbed 50% overnight. Fuel prices are through the roof. Home heating
going up again.
Everything's nuts. And yet people are still trying to open a new business, becoming entrepreneurs, trying to forge their way. And like in such an economy, 2+ years of a pandemic and now a war that is affecting the global markets. It's just my hat's off to people that are trying this. But before we get into our first interview, I just want to give a quick shout out to another business in our community. They support us in so many ways, and that is East Haven Funeral Home, who are sponsoring this episode again. So thank you so much, East Haven.
Thanks, East Haven.
When there's a passing in your family, you don't need to be worried about sudden expenses and decision making. East Haven Funeral Home, Port of Ask, is available to talk to you about pre-need funerals. All arrangements can be made in advance, including traditional funerals, cremation, and monument cells. We serve all faiths on the south and southwest coast. East Haven Funeral Home, 57 Grand Bay Road, Port of Ask, 695-2300. A guiding light in your time of need.
All right, and that was a little word from our sponsors, East Haven Funeral Home. Once again, thank you so much for sponsoring last episode and this episode of Complete Rec. And what we were talking about before the break, Roz, you were mentioning how there is businesses that are starting to open their doors during a pandemic, during the whole war in the Ukraine. So tell me a little bit about who you interviewed for this week.
I spoke with Tanya English of Tea's Treats. Tanya has roots here, specifically from Petites, which is just down the coast. But she decided to pick up and move provinces in the middle of a pandemic and become an entrepreneur and start a little food shack. And now she's running the food kiosk up at the Bruce 2 Sports Center. She makes a wicked funnel cake. And I happen to know she intends to go back to Scotts Cove this summer and have those funnel cakes again. So that should be great fun for me anyway. Yeah, they are delicious. But let's speak with Tanya and see what on earth she was thinking about doing all this during a pandemic.
If there's a bright side to a global pandemic, it might be Tanya English who has found it. Last summer, she seized the opportunity to sell her home in Stratford, Ontario, and relocate permanently to Port of Ask, Newfoundland. Even though the food industry as a whole was struggling because of COVID-19, Tanya even opened her own business, Tea's Treats, based on the waterfront. She offered funnel cakes and other sweets. In the fall, she relocated to the Bruce 2 Sports Center canteen and expanded her menu to include a variety of luncheons and suppers, from Tex-Mex to traditional Newfoundland favorites. Tanya, thank you for joining us today. Let's begin with your move from Ontario and how you came to buy a home online. When did you first arrive in Port of Ask?
We got here July 9th, 2021 is when we took possession of the house and when we got off the ferry.
But you had bought it online first?
I found it on Facebook. Well, I went on zoocasa.com, which is really cool because you can zoom in and it's not always just MLS. It could be private sales. It could be anything. So I was looking at Port of Ask and I found one on Bay Street and I messaged my cousin. She went over and looked and it wasn't what I thought it was because when you go into Google Earth, it's, years old. And there was a house in the backyard that wasn't on Google Earth. So I thought it had a clear view of the ocean. It didn't. So then she added me to a couple groups on Facebook, and I found it on there.
Why now, during the middle of a global pandemic, did you decide it was a good time to move?
Real estate went through the roof in Ontario, and I've always wanted to be here. Like always, my mom's from Petite, so I've been here probably a dozen times with her, and I just wanted to be here. I've always wanted to be here. Every time I left here, it was super sad, and when COVID first started, I lost both my jobs like within 20 minutes because I was in the service industry, and I went back to UPS, which I had been there for 15 years and left, and then went back, and it's not what I wanted to do. So I was looking for a change and talked to Mike about it, and he was like, let's do it. So we did it, and yeah, we're here.
And then you decided to start your own business.
Yeah, well, that was kind of a fluke too, because Mike went in to check out the gym. They offered him a job as a lifeguard when, like, the first day he was there, and then the canteen was available, so I applied and I got it.
Before that, you were down Scott's Cove for the
Yes.
summer.
Yeah, we went down to Scott's Cove,
Yeah.
and it was a hit. People are asking, you know, if I'll be going back, and I am. I'm going to go back there for the summer. We had so much fun down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get the live studio music
And the
audience
boat
kind of
coming
thing.
in, and it's just, yeah. When the weather's nice, it's nice.
Very good.
Yeah.
And we have come home year this year, so we
It should be
get
better.
more tourists, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you miss anything about Ontario at all?
I miss not having a Dollarama here. I know it's silly. It's just Dollarama. I miss my grandkids. I miss my two boys that are there, stepson and my son.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And what do you enjoy most about this area, having moved back here? Now you've been here.
The scenery.
Yeah.
Like, the scenery is amazing. Every time I look out the window, it's a different picture. And we like to go on adventures and stuff, mostly in the Jeep. But, yeah, like going down to Harbour Lagoon reminds me of when we used to go to Petites. And we went through marine excursions over to Petites, and that was awesome. And I can't wait to do that again.
When did you do that?
We did that in September when our friends from Ontario were here, and I'd like to go in the spring so I can actually get to my grandmother's house, because in September everything was all grown over and it was super wet and not the best time to be going over, but yeah.
So your grandma's house is still standing?
It's
over?
still there. It had a bit of a buckle in it, so I hope it's still there in the spring. A lot of it is gone, like there used to be like a huge store there, and it's all buckled into the ocean, and Aunt Maud's house is gone, and like there's a lot of stuff that's not there anymore. It's quite sad when you pull in there, but yeah.
Other than Petites, what's on your to-do list for the summer? Do you know?
I want to go to Burjo. My mother taught there, so I'd like to go there. They have beautiful beaches. I'm not sure where else. I think we would like to go up to Gross Morin, just because we've never been there.
Mm-hmm.
St. Anthony would be beautiful. I got an iceberg tracker, so we'll make that the trip, right? We'll go up and maybe, hopefully, see an iceberg. There wasn't any ice last year, I guess, so.
No. Would you have come back if COVID hadn't struck and
I probably would have, but I wouldn't have moved here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a desire, for sure, but it totally came to fruition, and which is awesome. I can't even believe that I'm here.
Yeah. So it kind of worked in your favor.
It really did. Yeah.
Which is odd for a pandemic to
right?
work. It's so
I mean, the canteen isn't as busy because it's at 25%, but it is what it is. At least we're doing something, and we're where we want to be, so.
Doesn't get much better than that, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Tanya, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. You can find Tea's Treats on the waterfront in Port aux Basques this summer, and in the meantime, be sure to check out her Facebook page for her daily canteen specials located at the Bruce 2 Sports Center.
So that was Tanya English from Tea's Treats. Check out her funnel cakes if you get the chance. I promise you won't regret it. And tell her that Roz sent you. So Jaymie, that's what's going on out here. We still have entrepreneurs trying to set up what's going on out your way.
Well, I guess people are doing everything that they can to try and save money here and there, because it's not just gas prices going up. It's the cost of heating your homes, for example. The cost of food is absolutely astronomical. And if you're trying to eat healthy, or you're trying to do better for yourself in that respect, instead of just eating junk food all the time, it's even worse, because if you're buying organic, things are so much more expensive. But there's actually a couple out in our area in Steamville Crossing. It's Jasmine Gesso and Byron Alexander. They're with Newfoundland Naturals. And what they're doing is they're actually working towards 100% living off the grid. They are living sustainably, and they're growing their own food. They're foraging there for mushrooms, anything that they can out in the woods, hunting and gathering. It's amazing. I talked to them for, I'd say, the total interview. I'm not going to play the whole thing today, but I spoke to them for well over an hour about all the things that they are doing, and it's really fantastic. They're on a great, healthy lifestyle, and they're saving a lot of money as well. Everything that they are doing, while being better for the environment, being better for their own bodies and their own minds, it's also saving them a lot of money in a time where prices are just skyrocketing for everybody.
Yeah, what is it? I think it's $6 for milk out here, $4 for a loaf of bread. It's insane.
That's insane. Like, you can go down and you can buy, what is it? You can get those no-name brand chips. You can get 3 bags for a couple of bucks. But if you want to get some strawberries, it's like $10 for a little container of them. And I'm like, that's not going to feed anybody.
Yeah, no wonder I'm fat.
Right? See, it is not my fault. The reason I'm putting on weight is because I can't afford to eat healthy.
Oh, it's nuts. It's nuts.
It is. It's insane. But I really enjoyed talking to them. I thought they had a lot of great points. So we'll go to their interview shortly. However, first, we are going to go to a word from our sponsors. Once again, East Haven Funeral Home.
When there's a passing in your family, you don't need to be worried about sudden expenses and decision making. East Haven Funeral Home, Port of Ask, is available to talk to you about pre-need funerals. All arrangements can be made in advance, including traditional funerals, cremation, and monument cells. We serve all faiths on the south and southwest coast. East Haven Funeral Home, 57 Grand Bay Road, Port of Ask, 695-2300. A guiding light in your time of need.
Byron Alexander and Jasmine Gesso are a couple who has found their calling. Operating on the west coast of Newfoundland as Newfoundland Naturals, they are self-described foragers who focus on edible and medicinal plants and fungi. Byron, Jasmine, thank you so much for being here with us today. Let's start off our conversation by you guys letting me know exactly what got you started on the path to sustainable living.
I lived up here for 20 years, so I've been always trying to basically be self-sustained. Through growing foods, just like carrots and potatoes and chickens and stuff like that. Coming from a health background, I had the gym there for 30 years, of course. Mm-hmm. Health was always my foremost and front priority. But could never break into the natural stuff out there, because where do you go? There's really nobody to talk to. Like mushrooms, I always wanted to eat mushrooms, but there's nobody around here who knows anything about mushrooms. All you hear is poison and so on and so forth. So I was excited to got to the point that I had got to. We didn't grow our own food, like a domestic side of it. But when me and Jazzy got together, at that point I was picking one mushroom, which is chanterelles, and that was it. And we started doing some research and just kind of start falling into our lap.
Yeah, it was like a snowball effect then.
Yeah, like serendipity kind of stuff, eh? People just start showing up, and mentors and all kinds of crazy stuff. It was meant to be.
Yeah, it's like it was fate. It was your destiny to do it.
Absolutely. When people ask sometimes about going out and why you doing it, I especially with the natural medicines, I say, listen, the only way I explain it is like a salmon going up a river. A salmon, I'm sure, doesn't know why he's going up a river. He just got to go up that river. And for us, that's what it's like. Every day, that's all we do, we go and we forage, and in the wintertime, we do research for the summer. So.
And for me, like, I had never really been into anything. I don't think I ever grew anything in my life before I met Byron. So the gardening and stuff was a great first step to get me going. And just changing the way that I ate from regular store-bought food to organic food, and then even wild foods, I ended up losing 70 pounds.
Oh, wow.
So it was a huge lifestyle change, and that wasn't even really going to the gym. I think we had gone to the gym maybe a handful of times within that year, but we've been doing this now. We started about almost 2 years ago, so we've obtained a lot of knowledge since then. We do a lot of research, like a couple hours a day even. So usually when we go out and we're say on our little adventure and we might see a plant that we hadn't seen before, it's almost like it's calling to us, like it wants us to come over and check it out. So then we'll go over to that plant and we'll study it, and we'll take a piece home and then do some research on it, and then after we know it's a good edible or a good medicinal plant, we will then try to use it. So then we create a relationship with that plant and get to know it, and that's kind of how we remember it.
Awesome. So you guys are big on making sure that you respect all of the plants and animals that you are eating or using for your medicines.
Well, that's everything, because, I mean, it's a renewable resource, but, you know, if you don't do it properly, chaga is a good example. Have you heard of chaga?
My father is obsessed with chaga.
Okay, well, chaga right now is almost ready to be put on the red list as an endangered species. So, and that's because everybody's going out harvesting and not harvesting it correctly, and they're actually not using it correctly. So what we're trying to do is to educate people on how to properly harvest plants.
So it's still sustainable for future use.
Yeah, it's super important. And so that really is one of our biggest goals, not just what is medicine and how to use it, but how to make sure that it's sustainably sustained.
I had no idea that chaga was on its way out. I had no idea.
Yeah, sad, eh?
Yeah, so,
And unfortunately, but get this, the way people are using it, we're only getting about 15 to 20% of the medicinal properties in it because everybody's using it incorrectly. So not that we almost got to as endangered, we didn't even use it right.
wow, so how is it supposed to be used?
Well, we actually done a course over last winter.
On medicinal mushrooms.
Yeah, medicinal mushroom course. And the proper way really for chaga to be done with any polypore, which it's a hard, goes on trees, a polypore, is it needs to be put in a pressure cooker and cooked for like an hour, and then it has to be taken and put in a dehydrator and dehydrated, and it comes down to a powder.
Okay.
So your body can absorb it. It has the same thing that's in crab shells. Chitin. So chitin cannot be broke down and absorbed by your body, same as with crab shell. That's why you have to pressure cook it in order for your body to absorb it.
That's fascinating. I had no idea. Crab shells. You can do crab shells.
Most people don't. We didn't know until we actually started doing some courses, and that we had no idea.
Wow. That's awesome. And so you've done courses on it. Is it like online courses, or are there places that you can go in Newfoundland to learn about these things?
No, online Zoom. This is people from Brazil and all over the world.
Actually, the guy who made the course was named Dr. Christopher Hobbs.
Mm-hmm.
And we just did it online. I think it was a 6-week course.
Yeah.
Amazing.
He's a leading researcher into polypores, and that's it.
And polypore is a bracket fungus that grows on a tree. It's a hard fungus. That's why it needs to be broken down so much.
Okay, yeah, because I've heard of people just basically steeping the chaga and things like that just to get some of the medicinal properties, but I had no idea.
We do that too. Let's say you'll get probably 15 to 20% of what's actually in there.
Okay. Huh.
And then after you steep your chaga for tea, you can use it to make alcohol tincture.
Really?
You can use the same piece of the chaga from your tea for a tincture.
And the way you extract different properties. Like when you do it in a water extraction with your tea, you get certain things like beta-glucans in it, which is good for your immune system. When you do it with alcohol, you get triterpenes, and that's good like for anti-inflammatory, stomach problems, that kind of stuff. So depending on the extraction process, depends on what you're actually hauling out of it.
That's amazing. I'm learning a lot in like, what is it, 7 minutes? I've learned quite a bit.
Awesome. Well, our mission is accomplished once again.
Wonderful. So, tell me, what are some of the benefits to sustainable living and what you're doing at Newfoundland Naturals, and what are the types of positive impacts it's had on your life and health?
Well, most importantly is the health benefits. Not everything, but most things that grow naturally have an immense amount of nutrients for you.
And almost everything we come across is every plant out there pretty much is antibacterial, antiviral. Everything.
And did you know, like, just berries alone here in Newfoundland, there's 18 different types of edible berries.
Really?
Yeah.
And these things are helping us physically, mentally, and spiritually. Because it's all connected, eh? So when you go back to whenever we go on medicine walks, we're always moccasins or bare feet. It makes a humongous difference to us. The earth has a certain frequency, so when people wear rubber soles to it, you're actually disconnecting yourself from your mother, the earth, and that frequency. So that's when a lot of illnesses and that come in too, people don't realize.
And just elaborating on that, when you do that, it's called grounding or earthing. So your body then takes on that same frequency as Mother Earth, like Byron had just said. And they've done studies that show 72 hours after you walk barefoot, that any inflammation in your body is pretty well gone.
Huh. Wow.
Cool. Even colicky babies and everything say for their mom to go out and stand bare feet on the ground.
Yeah.
And they go.
The baby instantly stops crying.
Well,
and going back to what you were saying about respecting the plants and the animals, we do practice our native culture quite a lot. So we always give a tobacco offering and say a prayer for anything that we harvest or hunt.
Wow, that's amazing.
And our motto is always leave it better than we found it.
Yes.
So when we go, every time we go to, we'll come back with a bag of garbage or... we always, that's our main goal, leave it better than what we found it.
And when we do harvest, we only take a third, we only take what we need and leave the rest to regrow or for somebody else.
Perfect. Awesome.
Very important not to take the entire haul.
Okay, that's a good tip, actually. That's a very good tip. And I wish I would have known about the grounding thing when my child was screaming all hours of the night when she was a baby. That would have been an amazing tip to have.
Well, you have to share with others now.
Absolutely. Yes, spread the knowledge. So that's one of your biggest things with Newfoundland Naturals. You want to spread the knowledge, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the most important thing is to harvest sustainably. That's a big thing where a lot of people don't know how to harvest or forage, or if they're going out for their first time. We understand it gets exciting and you want to take everything, right? But you just can't do that because then you won't have anything for your future. And for Byron, mainly does a lot of the polypore stuff. That's his thing. I'm a little more on the herbal side with like the dandelions and chickweed and all the other stuff like that.
We kind of specialize in our own.
Yeah, and then we kind of bring it together and make it complete.
Awesome. Yeah, I had no idea until I saw that video that my dad had featuring you guys, and you were showing all of the food that you had in your freezer, that fiddleheads was even a thing you could eat, or dandelions.
And like there's lots of different ferns out there, and a lot of them you can't eat. They'll cause a stomach upset, so it's very important if you are trying to go pick fiddleheads that you pick the proper fern, which is the ostrich fern.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, see, I would be completely lost. I know that, like, I got a dad who's always in the woods, but I was not always in the woods.
Yeah, it's different.
Well, even like in the woods, like honestly, we haven't come across anybody, even on the native side, who really know maybe one or two mushrooms, but the stuff that we're discovering, a lot of it is just new. I don't think anybody, even our ancestors, have ever even eaten it, to be honest with you.
And it's one thing to know the knowledge on plants and mushrooms, but it's a completely different thing to live it and experience it and have a relationship with that, where you are using it on a daily basis and you're reaping all the benefits from it.
And do you guys, so you grow and sustain all of your own food, forage, you have your animals?
Yep.
Wow.
Potatoes, carrots, turnip, cabbage, broccoli, salad greens, beets.
We do turkeys and chickens. We do meat hens, and we do laying hens for eggs.
Yeah, we get mackerel and codfish. We're in the ocean. Lots of seaweeds. We pick 3 or 4 or 5 different seaweeds.
We actually use one seaweed called sugar kelp for pasta.
Huh. Wow,
So,
seaweed for pasta.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. And the health benefits of seaweed, of course, are just through the roof.
I had no idea.
And it's great, and we love it so much because there's always something new to learn. And you can't ever learn it all because there's just so many things.
I believe that. And is this lifestyle difficult living in Newfoundland with like the long, harsh winters we have, or is it a benefit?
Well, honestly, at first, I didn't think we could do this. For years, I really didn't, because I always thought to myself, yes, I'm growing my own food, so on and so forth, but I mean, I knew a couple things you could go in the woods. I knew chanterelles and probably cattail roots and probably one other thing, but I thought there was no way anybody could ever survive off just natural foods there. But you know what? It's a benefit to the maximum degree for us.
And we keep finding more and more that's around us. Like, there's so much around us that we never saw before. And even still that we aren't seeing, but
yeah,
it'll come.
And in the summertime, we preserve everything. So we get enough bounty through the summer to take us through the winter easily.
Wow.
So the Newfoundland, and like I said before, you would have asked me, I would have said, no, Newfoundland's not a place to this, but it is absolutely fantastic.
And where we're on an island, it's almost like the Galapagos. How do you call it? Galapagos Islands. Everything here is kind of like its own breed. So even the blueberries here in Newfoundland have a higher nutrient dense profile than what you would get on the mainland.
Antioxidants highest, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And most of our stuff we have here is like that. It's developed on its own, so
even our chaga has more higher nutrient content than anywhere else.
All because we're on an island.
Yeah, and wow. It's all developed and evolved on a separate scale, less pollutions and so on and so forth. And almost everything here is like that. You talk to mycologists and they're like, West Coast of Newfoundland, wow, it's undiscovered. It's like going back 1,000 years and nobody's ever done what we're doing. It's like we found truffles.
Last year we found truffles, yeah. Not the ones that you can eat. They're not the gourmet ones, but they've never been found here.
Wow.
So they're gone to Europe. They're now getting analyzed. It looks like we're going to get to name them.
You guys get to name your own truffles.
Yeah, and it'll go down in history, always.
What?
Yeah, so we're pretty excited. And we're after finding 3 or 4 or 5 different kinds.
Actually, we found 10.
10 different kinds?
We found 10 different truffles.
I mean, their minds are blown. They don't...
And they don't understand because normally if you find truffles grow underground, right? So you either need to train a dog or a pig to help you sniff them out. But I have a Byron.
But you have a Byron, and Byron sniffed them out.
Yeah, well, honestly, for us ancestors, our heritage, because, so, this is how it is. It's probably be too long for your thing, whatever, but just for our conversation here now.
Yeah.
We are human beings. We are beings having a human experience. So all the stuff that's in our bodies comes from Earth. All the minerals, everything. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we eat foods that are naturally, so everybody knows there's trillions of cells in our body. We're told that from grade school. Well, what we weren't told, and science is only realizing now, that we have more microbes than we do cells.
10 times more microbes than human cells in your body.
So microbes come from eating raw foods.
Like,
if you eat a can of ravioli, there's no microbes in that. Everything is sanitized, is boiled. It's basically dead food. So when you eat something like, say, a fiddlehead, there are certain microbes in that. When you eat that, it's like planting a garden. So that improves your immune system, your mental focus, everything. When you eat something from a store that has antibiotics in it, like chicken, which almost all do, Jaymie, what happens then, you're basically killing your connection, that microbe, your connection to the earth, because microbes come from the earth. So you're actually losing your connection spiritually by eating that food. That's how we feel, and science is proving it now. And that's why we eat. It's body, mind, spirit.
And just one course of antibiotics can wipe out your entire gut microbe, and then you have to start from scratch. So that's your entire immune system, because you have a gut-brain connection. They actually say your other brain is in your stomach. So that's why integrating things like pre- and probiotics or kombucha, kefir, and stuff like that is all really beneficial for your stomach, which is also very beneficial for your immune system.
And that was Byron Alexander and Jasmine Jesso with Newfoundland Naturals. You can check them out on their Facebook page, Newfoundland Naturals. And if you're a fan of TikTok, you can also go on TikTok and find them there.
So, Jaymie, I didn't even know we had truffles in Newfoundland. Surprise. How did they manage to not only find a truffle, but know that it hadn't been discovered previously?
Right. It's amazing. I guess they're very lucky and very talented at what they do. So they go out into the woods and they do their gathering. They do a lot of research too, as they were saying. They look in books, they figure out, what's edible, what's not. They have a lot of different contacts that they speak with. And knowing that truffles are not native to Newfoundland, they contacted the people that were out there that they knew were also very learned in the different types of truffles, mushrooms, fungi, and they found out that these are not, they're not discovered. They're brand new. It's like, I don't know how long they've been here. Like I said, didn't even know they were here.
Are truffles expensive? Like maybe they'll start a whole new industry coming up around their truffles, right?
They might. I mean, anytime you watch a fancy cooking show like Gordon Ramsay or something, MasterChef, anytime they're talking about truffles, they're talking about like this luxurious ingredient. But I mean, this particular truffle they were saying is not an edible kind of truffle.
Oh no.
So unfortunately, they wouldn't be able to sell it to different businesses that way. But there are still a lot of properties that you can use a truffle for. And what I thought was interesting was that Jasmine and Byron were both saying this is not something that you do overnight. You can't just decide, hey, I'm just going to eat 100% natural. I'm going to go out and forage for all of my own food, because there's a lot of healthy bacteria in these foods that our body is not used to, because the food that we're eating is processed. You have to eat it slowly, because you can actually have stomach upset, and not because it's bad for you, but because you're introducing something brand new to your system that you haven't had.
Isn't that amazing? That's interesting. It's a lot of work though too, that kind of lifestyle, right? Like you're spending hours in the woods every day. That's a whole lifestyle commitment change. And people, we have our 40 hours a week or plus, we have our families, we have our leisure time, to throw all that, well, I can't say throw all that, but like to switch all that over to a sustainable lifestyle, that's a massive time commitment in and of itself. It's a lot of work. It's like an extra job, really.
Exactly. And so that's why, like Jasmine said, that when she made the decision to quit her 40-hour-a-week job, that Byron was 100% behind her. And the two of them, they're working to live, not living to work, is how they had referenced it. So everything that they are doing, they are getting their own food, they are getting their own wood to heat their house, but they're doing everything. And this is basically what they're doing for work. And the author that I had interviewed, Lily White, for an article on the back of the Appalachian, so it's a few months ago, she she does a lot of workshops and a lot of trips, spiritual journeys with different people. And she's actually planning one over the summer. And she's going to team with Byron and Jasmine. And they're going to bring people here to teach them about sustainable living and about, being hands-on in the woods, in the wilderness, out in nature, connecting with Mother Nature kind of thing. And they're going to be doing that this summer. So they're getting their names out there. They have their own TikTok channel, and they're doing what they can to bring awareness so that people can learn about this as they are going about this lifestyle change themselves.
I know, like in the past couple of years, I've tried some gardening with some poor success rates, just because of the climate, I think, and because I don't have a lot of time devoted to it. But do you think people would turn more to this, like just because of the prices, like maybe grow your own herbs or something, right? Or grow your own tomatoes, or grow your own. Is this something you're interested in, or?
Absolutely. When they said that they basically, not only do they feel healthier, and not only, like Jasmine said, she lost, 70 pounds in a year just from switching over to a healthier style of eating. And it's like, it is a whole lifestyle change, but speaking with them, it was like, I don't think I've ever spoken with a more positive couple in my entire life. They were just so at peace with everything in their life. And I was like, you know what? Even just to have a piece of that state of mind, and knowing that when I'm working, I don't have to count every cent anymore because I'm worried about if I'm going to have enough gas for my car or if I'm going to have enough food for my fridge. Like that's a decision that a lot of people have to make right now. Am I going to have enough for my car, or am I going to have enough to eat? Am I going to have enough to heat my house? Or, like, where's the money going to go? Or am I going to go into huge debt? So maybe just by growing your own herbs, or having a little vegetable garden in the back, or fruit, because like we were talking about earlier, fruit is so expensive.
It is.
Grow the most expensive food.
Yeah, and they're the ones, sure, I'd love to have a pack of strawberries, but you get it, by the time you get it on the shelves, it's half rotten because of shipping delays and all that kind of stuff. But the chocolate bar is cheaper and it's fresher sometimes,
Exactly.
So, yeah, I'll probably give it another go with the garden. We do have community garden boxes for rent in the town. The town does rent them. I don't know, maybe I should build a little greenhouse or something. Maybe try that.
Exactly. I mean, like, we've got, the whole reason that we bought our house in Kippens was because it was a good idea at the time. This huge, massive plot of land at the back, nothing there. We're like, oh, it's like just a completely blank slate. We can do whatever we want with it. And now it's like 5 years later, and we're like, we still haven't done anything with it. We didn't know what to do. There's a, what do you call it? A swing set in the back for my kid, but like, that's literally it. But there's so much space back there. I mean, I could start a little garden myself. Maybe I'll have to call up Jasmine and get her to help maybe give me some tips on how to start a garden, because I do not have a green thumb.
Well, I'm sure she can offer you a little bit of advice, and you can always subscribe to her TikTok channel. I'm sure she has a little. Do they hunt too, or is it just like all vegetables?
Oh yeah.
Okay, they hunt.
Oh yeah, they hunt too. I mean, my dad, who's going to be featured on another podcast that we're having.
I heard about it, yeah, with Renee.
Wrote about it. Dad will be interviewed on there, but he actually has featured them in a couple of videos on his YouTube channel, and it's they do hunting and everything. They keep a freezer full of, like, they vacuum seal their meat and everything, and they also have dehydrators going all the time, and they dehydrate a bunch of food. And yeah, so they go out gathering, hunting, fishing, all of that. It's just as much as they can get from Mother Nature to eat, that is what they do.
Well, perhaps, turning to that lifestyle, even just a little bit, can really help with the budget crunch that we're all feeling these days. Maybe.
Exactly. That's like, maybe that's the secret. Stop worrying so much about going to the grocery store and getting things there.
If it fails, we can all move out to the prairies, right? And wear bonnets and roll around in horse-covered wagons, horse-drawn wagons.
Well, at the rate things are going, that's what's going to end up happening. thing because nobody's going to be able to afford to have a gas-powered vehicle anymore.
I made a joke about getting a goat for my lawn just so I wouldn't have to pay the lawn boy because he uses a gas mower. I'm just going to go out and buy a goat, right? And then I can get milk too or cheese out of the goat.
Exactly. Like we got so used to convenience, and now these conveniences are just, I don't even understand where the prices are coming from. I don't know how this is okay.
I don't know. Like, does Canada not grow wheat for the wheat prices to go up 50% overnight?
I have no idea. I don't understand it. And it's like the prices of oil, and they're like, oh, well, what is it? Is it Come By Chance? And they have like the oil refinery out there that's like not being used.
How did Newfoundland become the only oil producer that lost money on an oil refinery? Like, I don't understand it. But anyway, believe it or not, I asked that question to MHA Andrew Parsons, and he's writing an op-ed for the Rec House Weekly to explain it all to us.
Beautiful.
So maybe we'll get some answers that way. Maybe we can delve into that for the next episode of Complete Rec.
And we started Complete Rec not knowing what we were doing for next week, and look at that.
Maybe I can pick Andrew's brain once I read the op-ed.
Exactly. Perfect. See? Look at that. We're not a complete wreck after all.
Yeah. Once in a while we can come up with a moment. All right. Well, I think that's it for this episode, is it not?
Yeah, I think we did pretty good.
Yeah, short and sweet.
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah. Well, I guess short and sweet, but with the interviews combined, it's a little longer, but that's all right.
They don't need to hear us talk. They need the information from the interview subjects.
Exactly. They don't want to hear us talking all the time. So yeah, I want to thank East Haven Funeral Home once again for sponsoring episode 3 of Complete Rec. We're getting a little bit less, I want to say less wreckish, but that's not a word. We're
Less
getting
wreckish,
better.
yeah. Maybe a little less chaos. Maybe we'll have to change the tagline from Chaos on the Coast, but no one else now. Not really.
No, we're going to keep that because, we might be good this week and next week will be a complete disaster. So.
Complete wreck. Next week will be a complete
wreck.
All right.
Thank you, Roz, and thank you, East Haven Funeral Home, and everyone who was listening, and we will see you all again next time.
When there's a passing in your family, you don't need to be worried about sudden expenses and decision making. East Haven Funeral Home, Port of Ask, is available to talk to you about pre-need funerals. All arrangements can be made in advance, including traditional funerals, cremation, and monument cells. We serve all faiths on the south and southwest coast. East Haven Funeral Home, 57 Grand Bay Road, Port of Ask, 695-2300. A guiding light in your time of need.